Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Doing something a little different in this video. As you can see, there's a tram tower or bucket tower, and this is up in Park City, Utah. And one of the buildings that I have on the layout is a replica of the Silver King ore house that was in essentially Main Street, Park City. And they made this ski lift that pretty much follows the old bucket trail. You can kind of see the towers in between the trees and that, but figured that document a little bit of this, as you can still see the mill and where the head frame building is at for the mine. So I will be filming a little of this and searching and finding a bit more information to make sure that I'm as accurate as I can be. But I'll shut up now and just film the line and see everybody in just a bit. Slightly different tower than the rest of them that's been seen so far. Here's another one that's still in pretty good condition, that's out from the trees. And I think that's about the crest, that last one that I showed, because now they're starting to get lower, and as you can see from the chairlift, we're just about getting to Main Street here in Park City. So we're kind of getting to the end, and if I remember right, you can kind of see right above, if I can get something to poke in, but right above where my finger's at, there to the right of those people in front of us, is a rebuilt tower kind of showing where the ore house was, which is the building that I have on the layout. They slow this lift down for people to get on and off, and that's why you kind of see it be jerky a little bit. But anyway, the ore house was right there, prime downtown Park City, and people, it had been pretty dilapidated come the 80s, and people didn't quite know what to do. That was kind of when this was starting to take off more as the tourist ski town that Park City is now. And after a concert one night, I think it was 1988, not for sure, I'll put it in there as a subtitle, the ore house strangely caught fire. And I mean, I can't really say much because I've seen some pictures of it, and I'll post some pictures as well that I found, and it was in a really rundown state. It would have admittedly cost a lot of money to get it rebuilt and in any semblance that could be stayed in a town, you know, that had people coming and going, and kind of worried about how it looked. So on the one hand, it was probably the easiest way to see it go. On the other hand, it was kind of a loss of, oh geez, there's a loud car going off. Hopefully you guys can't hear that. But, you know, it was a loss of some pretty cool history. So anyway, here's a good chain of the bucket line going down in, and you know, here at the end of this matches up pretty close to where it was at down there Main Street, but that's where we're at. And pause there for a second because there were some people coming up the lift, but this is where, you know, essentially where that silver tower is behind that teal kind of looking apartment there that's in the middle of the frame, or condo, store, whatever it is, I'm not quite sure. But that's where the ore house used to be. And oddly enough, as I was saying, the head frame and some of the mill are still available to see. You can't access the head frame. It's got the 1,500 foot shaft still in it, so they have that closed up, but we'll go and explore some of that. So I'm gonna take this lift back up and film a little bit more on the way up, and then get off and go explore those two areas. So we'll be back in just a bit. This is kind of the best that I'm going to be able to get of seeing the tram line up on that side as soon as we get over past this chairlift pole, but kind of shows you how far they were moving the ore from the mill and mine itself down here to the railroad stop that they then load, you know, into rail cars and take away. So we're kind of going slow because they are loading some people, and then of course we'll be offloading. But right there is the head frame building. We cannot get into there. It's boarded up, and again, reasonably so. Has the 1,500 foot hole that's sitting right in the middle of that higher piece there. I'm not quite sure what they're doing. They have some workers down there and some stuff fenced off. I'm sure they're boarding it up a little more secure, but we had some heavy snow, and I don't ever remember there on the right being as collapsed as it was. So I'm guessing that with the heavy snow, you can kind of see a hole there in the front. I'm guessing that the work they're doing is fixing whatever happened from the snow. And then just on that side of the mountain is the mill. So we'll get down there and film what we can and be back in a bit. So here's a better picture or video. Okay, here is some of the mill that we can see from this side anyway. And I don't know how well it comes across, but right about up in here, there is where they had the ore cars, or at least it looked like a little bucket, or not bucket, but where they would take them and, you know, get them from the mine and just come across. It's kind of showing how far the distance is between the two, but that's where we're at, and I'm going to go walk down there and get some pictures of it and see what we can find out. Okay, from the past 2 years that we've been up here, I've kind of learned kind of the best route to kind of see things. So we're here, and this is where I don't know if there was 2 stops to the bucket line or what. This is kind of where they had some ore tracks going, and then another bucket line lift there, or a tower anyway. So I'm just going to keep walking here. And I know that there was at least a rail line because of this tie here. And they've got, there's just stuff scattered everywhere from the elements and the security to try and keep people from finding things or that they shouldn't be. But here's some footings and for different things. Not sure what that shack is. I'm not going up to it though. But you get up here, and I want to say there was a switch at some point. Well, there had to have been. And this is just a massive ore bin that had 2 lines going to it. Of course, people have gotten down in there and there's graffiti everywhere, but just kind of a cool thing to see these ore bins. And of course, as time has gone through with the elements and that, things have just gotten worse and worse, and it's just what happens. But there's part of a ore bin there, or a ore cart. Then of course more of the bin, and if I remember right, the roofing went all the way down as well. But I don't remember for sure. A couple of I don't knows. It's kind of a cool place to see, and they used to have a thing up here called the Park City Silver Mine Adventures. It seems like it was only around for a couple of years. I remember going to it when I was younger. It was kind of a cool experience. Wish they would bring it back, but not quite sure the reasoning as to why it ended, but and there was some massive water tanks over here, and if we go down and around we can actually get down further, so we'll be back in just a bit. So one thing is, I'm sure this was just kind of bulldozed at some point, but just a bunch of barrels and stuff that are rotting away and rusting away, I guess is the better way to say it. So here's the remnants of the 3 water tanks or storage tanks. Guessing that's a smokestack. It's kind of fallen over a little more than the last time we were up here. And like I said, I'll put some pictures up here and there. Ooh, rail. Of course I get excited seeing ore cart rail, but I'll post some pictures up of the, if I remember right, it's the Library of Congress that they have. And this was just a massive, it still is a massive building, but when it was back in the day, the way it looked, it's just amazing at how big it was and what they were doing. If I remember right, we're still using this into the 70s. But let's just come in and take a peek. Of course, a lot of things have been stripped away and graffiti everywhere. Looking out across the valley a little bit. But right on the other side of that wall is where the ore bins are at. Fortunately, someone decided to cover up Scooby and Shaggy with some other graffiti. And just massive, guessing that's the concentrator, I'm not sure. Some belt, a bucket line there, and some belt driven pulleys and stuff. Again, just a massive structure. Pretty amazing what's left. And here's looking down. There's the bottom. This is the bottom of the ore bins. And it's pretty amazing to see some of the belts still on the pulleys and that. So just again, just a massive. I couldn't tell you all that was done here, of course, but one thing, if you do end up finding this place, just be careful. There's holes and stuff in the floor, rickety, there's a couple holes, rickety wood steps and stuff. Stuff that, like, I don't even remember seeing that. But here's pretty sure that's a motor for the belts. Some graffiti I do find pretty funny, like putting the face on that box there, that conveyor. But look outside and see the bins a little bit again. Going to move to the next level and be back in just a bit. And just a little bit more of what's around here. Just showing how massive. I know I keep saying that, but there's just no really other way to explain it other than maybe, it's very expansive. And also there's a whole nother floor below this one as well. I don't know if the old car is still in there, but we'll see what we can see once we get down there. And we're gonna kind of come over here, so we'll be back in just a bit. So this is one thing that irritates me, and that somebody's gone through and covered up the Silver King collation mine co that had been put into the concrete or whatever. Luckily, I do have a picture from that before that happened. But then another thing, just a massive overhead crane too. It's pretty cool to see. So if I remember right, these are some concentrate bins that would kind of, again, part of the mill process. I don't think I showed under there, but all right, that is where, or the level that I was filming down on, and this is the base level As I was saying, I knew that there was a car here at one point, but things have really collapsed down here. I mean, reasonably so. It's a abandoned building, and we had a record snowpack this winter. So I'm just going to kind of walk in here, but I was going to try and walk over to that side of the hill and take a picture, but I'm not real steady right now on my feet, so we're going to just kind of ignore that for now. And what I'll do is I'll take some time and go back through all my footage that I've taken and just augment it with that. But anyway, that's that. I'll add some pictures of what this looked like beforehand, as I said. But yeah, it's just a cool place to be, and cool to know that the history is still here of one of the buildings that I've modeled for the layout. So this is the end of the Silver King Mill and the mine and kind of the history behind it. One last shot of the mill. At least what's left. And I'm going to try and beat this storm to the chairlift so we can get back down. So we'll see everybody in just a bit.